Hey y'all, thank you so much for joining me for this week's What's for Dinner. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, this is basically a series of me showing you guys everything that I have prepared for dinner for my family over the course of a week. I've been doing this for a few years now, so there are tons and tons of different meal ideas on this channel, and if you subscribe, you'll be sure to see all of the future meal ideas and plus just all things food related. We are a family of four, so other than myself, there is my husband Josh and our two kids, Riley, who is 6, and Boston, who is 4. I also wanted to add that this is my first video using my new camera, so hopefully you can notice a little bit of an upgrade in quality. There may be a few hiccups here and there. I'm just trying to figure this thing out, but let's go ahead and get into these recipes. So all 3 of these items are new to me. I had never purchased them prior and I found them all at Kroger's. So first off, we have this garlic smoked sausage. We are huge garlic lovers in this house, so I knew immediately I had to buy it. Josh is actually not a fan of smoked sausage, but he really liked this one, so that's saying something. I thought it was super cool that these potatoes were already peeled and diced and they're stored in the refrigerator, not the freezer. I think those would be a great option for like a camping trip. And then y'all, this garlic parmesan and basil butter is 12 out of 10 amazing. If you take away anything from this video, it is to run and go get you some of this. It's incredibly flavorful. So I'm just going to start by heating up some olive oil. This was my first time using my new skillet that my dad got me for Christmas, and oh my word, it is hands down the best skillet I have owned yet. I've only used it a few times now, but I can already tell that the quality is amazing and it's going to be really long lasting. It's incredibly non-stick. My favorite part about it is how evenly it cooks food. Like the cooking surface is a lot larger than what I'm used to, so it sears everything so nicely. I cannot pronounce what it is called, but I will definitely write it out down below in the description box if you are interested. They are a little pricey, but it is worth it in my opinion. I know that he got mine at Target, but I'm sure you can find them anywhere. I already want like a whole new set of that brand. I love it that much. But okay, back to the food. So as you've seen, I just sliced up that sausage into kind of thick pieces, and then I just threw it into my hot skillet. I am going to be cooking this on about medium-high heat, and I am going to take the time to make sure that it's in an even layer. And I'm just going to let that cook for a few minutes, and then I am going to flip each one over piece by piece. This takes a little bit of patience, but it is worth it to make sure that every single bite is going to be perfection. Just look at how gorgeous that sear is. Delicious. So once I let that finish cooking for a few more minutes on the other side, I'm just going to take like a slotted spoon and I'm just going to remove that from that grease and place those onto a separate plate. I'm going to leave all of that oil and grease into the pan, and that's what I'm going to cook my potatoes in. So I added that whole bag, and I'm going to be seasoning it with this Steak and Shake fry seasoning. This is my favorite seasoning to put on like any type of fried potato or breakfast potato. I just love the taste of it. Anytime I use it, I get a lot of questions on it. So I'm assuming that, you know, not everyone has a Steak and Shake in their area, but it's just a little restaurant around here. It's like a little burger joint, and that is where I purchased this seasoning. So you can find it on Amazon, but it is like double the price, which I don't understand that. I'm sure there is like copycat recipes online if you wanted to try and recreate it yourself. I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard at all. So anyways, I am just going to finish cooking up these potatoes. I'm just going to make sure that they are tender and get a nice little crust on those. And then once it reaches that point, I'm going to add in some of that delicious garlic parmesan butter. I could have definitely let these potatoes crisp up a little longer, but I'm currently trying to count my calories with like my MyFitnessPal, and I have this horrible habit of waiting until I am so hungry before I start cooking, so then I start like rushing and messing things up. I need to get better about that. But anyways, once that butter was nicely melted, I'm just going to throw back in that sausage, and I'm just going to toss those around in that nice garlic butter and just let those heat up for a couple of minutes. So to go along with this, I served it with some roasted broccoli. I just drizzle those in some olive oil and season with garlic powder, salt, pepper, and some Mrs. Dash lemon pepper seasoning, and cook that at about 400 degrees, I believe, for about 15 minutes. And when it came out, I squeezed some fresh lemon juice over the tops, and then I sprinkled it with some Parmesan cheese. This was the best roasted broccoli I have made yet. Now it's like all I ever want. So this is absolutely a new favorite. My daughter especially raved and raved about this. It was so cute. I wish I got it on video. But that garlic sausage was awesome. And with that sear, it just gave it so much flavor. And then you add in that garlic butter and you have the best meal ever. And all of this was done in under 20 minutes. You just can't beat that. If you choose to make this, take a picture and tag me on Instagram. I love seeing that. And I just want to know what you guys think about it. Up next is breakfast for dinner, and the star of the show is going to be this classic basic sausage gravy. So you'll want to use 1 pound of breakfast sausage. Use whatever brand that your family prefers. I'm going to dump mine out into a cast iron skillet, but you don't have to have a cast iron to do this. And then I'm going to get that broken apart and just continue to cook that until there is no longer any pink. And then at that point, I'm going to add in a 1/3 cup of plain all-purpose flour, and I'm just going to whisk that around until you can no longer see any white pieces, and then I'll continue to cook that for just a couple of minutes to ensure that there's not going to be like any raw flour taste. And be sure not to drain any sausage grease because you need that to create your roux for this, and plus that's where all the flavor comes from. Then you'll want to add in 3 cups of milk. You could add in an additional cup if you like a thinner gravy, but honestly, my skillet wouldn't hold it. I like to use 2%, but I know a lot of people use whole milk, but either way, it's going to taste delicious. So I'm just going to let that come up to a boil, and then I'll turn it down to a simmer for just a few minutes until it reaches that desired consistency. It should thicken up pretty quickly. And then I cut the heat off, and then I add in some Lawry's seasoned salt and plenty of black pepper. That Lawry's seasoned salt is what sets this gravy apart from any other one that I've had in the past. It adds so much flavor compared to like regular salt, so I highly recommend using that. And it doesn't have to be Lawry's, like any seasoned salt will work. But that's it for the gravy. I made some homemade biscuits. These got so tall, and I will be sure to link the recipe in my description box if you are interested in that biscuit recipe. So here is my plate. I just took one of those biscuits and tore it in half and poured plenty of that delicious gravy over the top. This was basically the equivalent to like 2 biscuits where they were so big. So definitely too much for me for like one sitting. So I took half of that and put it in a container and had the best breakfast the next morning. And then to go along with it, I just fried up some bologna. That's one of my kids' favorite things. And then I also did a side of eggs. And then mine is sunny side up because that's my favorite way to have an egg. Moving on to the air fried barbecue chicken legs. So I got this whole package that will feed my family perfectly for just $1.72. Like, that's amazing and such a great option when you're trying to save some money. So I'm just going to coat those in some extra virgin olive oil and then a ton of this grind staff all-purpose rub, or you can do any barbecue seasoning of your choice. You will want to preheat your air fryer for 5 minutes at 400 degrees. After I added that barbecue sauce, I just popped those back in the air fryer for a final 3 minutes, and then they were done. These turned out awesome. Another new favorite. They were cooked perfectly on the inside, nice and juicy, and then the outside was crispy. So much flavor and only 4 ingredients. My kids, who like never eat meat off of a bone, and especially not anything like barbecued, they loved it. And then I just served it with some boxed mac and cheese or shells and cheese and a can of peas. Such an easy, quick, cheap, delicious meal. Now let's talk about these cheeseburger sliders. So I'm browning up 1 pound of ground beef that has been seasoned with this Mr. Steak Super Blend seasoning, which is basically just a blend of salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder, and just a couple other things. I'm pretty sure I purchased this at a Bass Pro Shop. I'm also going to be adding in several dashes of Worcestershire sauce. That always goes hand in hand with ground beef, always adds an amazing flavor. And I'm just going to continue to cook that until it is fully cooked, obviously, and I will drain that grease. Now, I know that this sounds weird, but you're just going to have to trust me, but you do want to add in some mayo. This, you're not going to be able to taste it, but it's going to help ensure that that meat stays nice and juicy and doesn't like dry out when it's in the oven. Now, here's another example of me rushing and making mistakes. So I forgot that I had cut that recipe in half, so I kept the mayo part of it the same. So there is double the mayo in there than what is needed. So just keep that in mind. You definitely don't need this much, but it honestly didn't make a difference. Like, it still turned out just fine. So anyways, now that that is ready, I am going to assemble these sliders. Here is the dinner rolls that I chose. I'm just going to take a long serrated knife and just cut those down the middle. This is always such a pain. Like, I wish that it came like pre-cut. I always end up either smushing the buns on top, or I cut it so uneven, like one side will be so thin and the other side will be really thick, but oh well, it's okay. Now I'm going to prepare my cookie sheet. I'm just taking some butter and rubbing that all over the bottom. That way the bottom buns can like toast up nicely, and then I'm just going to assemble it with the meat and cheese. I served mine with a couple Roma tomato slices that had been seasoned with salt and pepper, and these definitely exceeded my expectations. Like, I knew they would be good, but I did not expect them to be that good. So much quicker and easier than having to fry up a bunch of different hamburger patties. So this would be a great option for like larger families and like a party option. And I just served it with some air fried tater tots and some pickles. Lastly, we have the cheesy garlic breadsticks. So I did record myself making this dough, but it was making the video too long, so I decided to cut it, but I would definitely have that recipe linked in the description box with all the other ones that I followed. But you could definitely use like, store-bought dough to make it faster, just whatever you want. And then here we are with that delicious garlic butter again. I just melted some of that down, and I'm brushing that all over the surface. That's what's going to be the base for these breadsticks. And then I'm just going to finish off this bottle of Parmesan cheese. So that's going to go on the bottom, and then I'm going to add this whole bag of mozzarella cheese, which is the equivalent to 2 cups. If you want it to make these more like restaurant style, add you another bag of cheese, but like I said, I am trying to count calories. So now I'm going to try and flavor this up a little more. So I decided to add some ranch seasoning powder on the top, and then just a little bit of this Italian seasoning. I definitely didn't want to go overboard with that because I just know how my kids are. And then for the last seasoning, I'm just going to add quite a bit of parsley just so it doesn't come out looking all white and bland. And I'm going to cook that at 500 degrees for about 9 minutes, I believe, 8 to 9 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. And here's what it looks like when it came out. This was our meatless meal of the week. I'm wanting to bring that back, but I do struggle with ideas when it comes to that. But yeah, I just cut those into the shapes of breadsticks, and I have 2 of those. They turn out really good, as you can imagine. I mean, what could go wrong here? And then I just served it with some Prego spaghetti sauce. And then I have a side salad with just a lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and I sprinkled it with some of this lemon pepper seasoning. This Great Value one is awesome. I'm currently loving it. And then I drizzled some Bolthouse Farms ranch over it. But that is going to wrap up this video. I hope you got an idea or two. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.